Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Alright, so today we're going to talk about meaning. Specifically, we're going to talk about meaning of words and what does this word mean to you or to when it was written. So essentially, one of the things that I am is I'm what you would call a linguist. Now, not in the sense of, now it's kind of funny because I'm doing it right now. I'm going to give you a different meaning. So not in the sense of a college person that might go to Berkeley or Stanford and study linguistics. They study words, or not even words, but communication in the sense of like the diphthong and how they roll their R's and how this Indian tribe in South America that has never been discovered, how they use language and how they use the tongue, etc. So that's not the way that I'm trained. So I'm trained in something called neuro-linguistic programming. I studied it for 12 years. I went to training after training. In fact, I'm still reading books. I was at the coffee shop yesterday reading a book on neuro-linguistic programming. It's a very in-depth thing that really clarifies communication. So one thing I want to say right now is languaging is powerful. It is very, very powerful. The more you understand it, the more power you have in life. So I'm also trained in something called Ericksonian hypnosis, the most powerful form of hypnosis when it comes to healing people of injured emotions. So with NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and Ericksonian hypnosis, these are two art forms that are all about words and the meaning of words and what you specifically mean when you say what you say. So I wasn't going to throw this in there, but then you have something that I'm a master practitioner called timeline therapy, okay? Now, timeline therapy is about how to use languaging to shift you from one part of your timeline over to the other, to the past, to the future, and you use your languaging to put people in the past or the future without them quite realizing what you're doing. So people do this all the time and they don't even realize they're doing it. The difference is when you're trained in this stuff, you become very conscious going, oh, they're in their past right now. Oh, okay. Because you could be talking to someone who's actually like associated into into a past memory and talking to them like you think they're in the present moment when they're not. Okay? And this can cause a massive communication error. So when you think of your future's past present moment, you begin to realize there's a past in the future. So that's playing with linguistics on the timeline, going up and down your timeline. Because your future's past is always deeply rooted in the present moment. Okay, so I'm just playing with words right there because, wait a minute, your future's past in the present moment. What are you saying? So here's the deal. Narcissists are linguistic experts. They have, since childhood, really tuned in to your languaging in a very logical, specific left brain way. So a lot of lawyers, they're narcissists for sure. I'm not going to say all of them, but a lot of them. Like, it really draws them because it's all about how you can bend the rules, there's certain rules that most people don't know of, and they can get you with this, and how to use languaging in a very specific way. So a certain percentage of lawyers actually go off and study neuro-linguistic programming to learn how to use words in a way that's advantageous to them winning their court case. Alright, so right now I'm going to do a couple things. I'm going to give you a real example of a tactic, strategy that narcissists use, or a technique actually, that's a linguistic technique to scramble your brain, okay? And it's the reason why whenever you talk to narcissists, you get really exhausted and you get like a fog, okay? So this is a form of what we would call witchcraft, okay? So don't go too deep down that witchcraft hole. It's really the way that they're playing with languaging. And I'm going to show you specifically what they're doing and how they're doing it and why you or your brain goes along with it, because it's a little trick that they do that it seems like, oh, well, this is a normal part of the flow of conversation, when no, it's not at all. Okay, so then I'm going to talk about a verse in the Bible that you have all heard and read and completely and totally misunderstand. And it's not because, oh, it's a poor translation. No, it's because nobody bothered or cared enough to say, well, here's what this phrase means. So number 3, instead of understanding the truth, you were lied to in many different ways by either the definition was left out and they left you to assume the meaning of a word, or they slightly twisted the phrase or added a word to the phrase or took a word away, such as light warriors, and then they changed it to light healers or light workers, meaning you didn't know that you were a warrior. You are a warrior. The number one goal of a narcissist is to make sure that you do not have any defense or protection. They want to make sure you're completely vulnerable, so you're an easy target for them to completely wipe out. And their number one tool is linguistics. So, okay, I'm going to go into my course a little bit. So, the thing that men don't know. Okay, so there's a reason why the female mating system is not connected to the eyes like the male brain. The male mating system is connected to his eyes. For women, it has a nerve that curves off to the right brain's communication center. Key phrase, right brain. I did not say logical left brain, because most men, because you'll see on dating sites or even hear women in public like, oh, I'm looking for a man who knows how to communicate well, a man who knows how to express himself, a man who's connected emotionally and knows how to communicate himself on that level. Most men are like, oh, I'm a great communicator. I got straight A's in high school English. Guys, that's logical left brain communication. That's proper English. That's, dot your I's and cross your T's and put the comma in the right place so you don't have comma splices, etc. That's not what she's talking about. So the reason why the female mating system is connected to the female right brain's communication center is because men that learn how to open up to the right brain, they gain social power, they gain political power, they gain power within the organization that they belong to. Thus, they go up the corporate ladder or the military ladder a lot faster. Because power comes from communication. Power is within communication. Most men think it's in their muscles. No, it's not. Now watch this. Who digs the ditches? The big, powerful, muscular dude or the king? The big, powerful, muscular dude. He's the one that is sent off to war to fight and to struggle and to suffer tremendously, while the king's at home talking to the press, drinking lattes and eating the perfect freshest fruits and vegetables, and he's not a big, strong dude. And here's the thing that most muscular guys don't understand. Almost 99% of all leaders throughout the world are small men. They're frail, skinny men, even if they are tall. Look at Biden. Look at Obama. Look at both George Bushes. The only one right now that's even semi-strong is Vladimir Putin. Okay, and he's a small dude. He's 5'6", but he is an aggressive, strong dude, trained in judo and I think jiu-jitsu also. But for the most part, look at all the leaders of the world. They're wimps. But they're linguistic masters. And so is Putin. He is a linguistic master. They're all sharp when it comes to languaging and communication. And that's why they are the leaders. So I'm going to give you a tool right now that will add power to your languaging and your communication. And it is unbelievably simple. And one of the sexes actually uses it all the time. So this entire video is about this subject right now, and the second part after this is going to give you an example. Okay, so what happens is this. A lot of times we talk to people and they speak words English, and so on an English level you understand them perfectly, or so you think, because you really don't. Languaging is one of the most complex things on the planet because it's not really communication, and words are not a very good way of communicating. It's not, you're trying to get this image and this message from your brain into their brain for them to understand, hopefully as clearly as you can. Here's just one of the problems, one of the challenges, is we have words and we speak in sentences and paragraphs and chapters and books. So you have a conversation with someone for an hour, you literally like wrote a book right there, okay? So you've got all these words. Now here's the problem with words. Depending on what country you were raised in, what part of the country, and what culture of that country you were raised in, every single one of those words can and or may have a completely radically different and or opposite meaning than what you think it means. All right, do you remember in the 70s? Well, it depends on how old you are. So we moved to Wisconsin for about 6.5, 7 years, and my brother Charlie and Shane stayed out in California and then went to Hawaii for about, I think it was like 3 or 4 years, something like that. And then they eventually came out, right? And my brother Charlie was using all these new slang terms and words that I'd never heard. And I'm like, what? Like, it sounded weird. Like, what happened to Charlie, man? My mom was laughing, like, oh, he's just picked up on the lingo, because it changes over time. And of course, to get to the Midwest, literally back then, it would take about 4 years to get the lingo from the West Coast or the East Coast to the Midwest. Now it's a matter of probably days to weeks when it begins to transfer because of social media. All right, so one thing I want to back up to, because I think I forgot to say it. If I did, forgive me, is the reason why the female's mating system is connected to her right brain's communication center is because okay, the reason why women get turned on sexually by the hidden language is because, now, most women may not know this, may have no clue. All they know is like, man, I like the way that guy talks. And men are like, what are you talking about? Like, guys, communication turns women on, okay? Now, ladies, you might be shocked right now going, why are you telling them that? Because his mating system is connected to his eyes, not his ears. Okay? So, and here's a question I'm going to ask before I say this. How many of you on here are women that are still past the 12-minute mark? Because a lot of men probably bounced off going, oh, he's talking about linguistics, communication, blah, 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 blah. They don't care because it doesn't turn them on. So if you're a guy, the reason why the female's mating system is connected to her right brain's communication center is because when a male unconsciously or consciously learns how to speak the right brain language, it triggers her mating system. It stimulates her mating system and directly turns her on. And now she's looking at you like, I'm going to make you my mate. I'm going to mate with you and have babies, because this is where you get power in the world. And thus, you'll be a better provider. Now, does she walk around logically stating this and thinking this? No, most women have no idea. All they know is, yeah, communication really turns me on. So guys, when women on those dating apps are saying things like, oh, I'm looking for a man who knows how to express himself and looking for a man who knows how to communicate, she's talking about the right brain language, which most men are like, what right brain language? And then I'll say the internal language, and every woman will nod and he'll be like, internal what? What are you talking about? What? You're weird. All right, I have to say something real quick. The gap between men and women understanding each other on any level, from just regular everyday communication, because like I said, we literally speak 2 different languages. We don't understand each other. Now, here's the deal. Women are highly aware of this. Like, they're like, wow, it's like they're speaking another language. Yeah, because they are. And it's not just that. It's also for romance, love, and sex, being sexually stimulated. So one thing I tell men all the time is the way a man loves a woman is not the way a woman receives love. Now, men love women tremendously. They work their hearts out. They do everything they can, but they're doing it in what's called the male way. And she cannot receive love in the way that a man gives love, because that's the way a man receives love. All right, so all of this is about linguistics, words, and communication, and the power which is held within communication and words. So here's what happens. you talk to someone, they say A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and you have your own definitions depending on what culture you were raised in, what country, what jobs, what education and training you have. Because in this training, in science, when you say, okay, watch this. Even in our own Western sciences, eye doctors use different words to say the same thing as brain doctors. And then there's another one. Oh, I just forgot it. There's 3 of them. So you have the left brain and the right brain. There's the conscious nervous system and the unconscious. That's left and right, okay? You have the foveal, which means left brain. So when your pupils are small, that's foveal, okay? And then you have the peripheral vision. Peripheral is when the pupils expand open and wide open. They see things peripherally. You have I think it's the neurosurgeon is what I'm talking about. So there's 3 different professional sciences, and I can't remember the third one for some reason. So we're describing the same thing. So there's 2 sets of nerves that are connected to 2 different brains. You have the foveal nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. If you don't believe me, go talk to your doctors. Talk to an eye doctor, talk to a neurologist, and talk to a brain doctor. They use different words for the same thing. Now, we also use the same words that have completely different meaning. So somebody says words to you. So let's say there's 5, 6, 7 words in a sentence. And I mean words like house, tree, warm, soft versus is and the. I don't mean those words, but the actual meaning words. And you have a completely different definition and or meaning than the person talking to you. So the person talking to you is saying A, but you're literally hearing B. And yes, this is why men and women fight like cats and dogs and get hurt emotionally, is because they're using the same words, but unconsciously our brains give a different meaning to the same words. So the right brain is, let's say a woman's in her right brain saying A, okay? And so she says a paragraph or 2 paragraphs of words. Well, what he does, he pulls those same words unconsciously through his logical filter, his logical brain, and it filters those same words and gives a different meaning to each and every one of those words. So now he's hearing the complete opposite. He's hearing B when she's not saying that at all. And he'll say, well, you said this and it means that. And she's like, no, I said A and this means that. He says, no, when you say that, this means that. And you guys will argue like cats and dogs. Because the 2 different brains give 2 different definition and or meanings to the same words. Now enter the narcissists. Oh, they love to play this game on you because they know that words can have completely radically different meanings. So they'll be saying something to purposely frustrate you, okay? And they will say A, knowing that you're hearing B, and they'll be like, well, that's not what I said. Like, yes, you did. You said blah, blah, blah. No, I didn't say that at all. And so they know that you're misunderstanding them. And they're doing it on purpose because they think it's funny to watch you get frustrated. Especially when there's more than one narcissist or a couple of their flying monkeys, and they all like, no, that's not what he said. And you're like, wait, yeah, he did. And so it's a game that they play with you. So now watch this. This is one of the tools you can use to save your marriage. It's also a tool you can use to save your friendship. It's a tool you can use to bring clarity into work, into business, and just having everyday conversation with your coworkers or friends. It's really, really simple. And so remember earlier when I said one of the sexes is doing this all the time? Well, that would be women. Women use this tool all the time because this is the number one thing the right brain is looking for. So the left brain, the logical brain, is just the surface level brain. It doesn't look for depth. It doesn't look for meaning. The right brain is always looking for a deeper level of meaning. And so here's a question that a woman unconsciously asks all the time. They're like, well, so you're talking, blah, blah, blah. And a woman will stop you sometimes and go, okay, when you say this, blah, 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 what does that mean? And then the guy or the girl will say, oh, well, when I say this, what I mean is blah, 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 blah. So this is a really simple tool. Like all you have to say to someone is, when you say this, what does this mean to you? Or what does this word or phrase mean to you? In other words, you're getting their definition. So now all of a sudden you can go, oh, so you're actually saying A. And they're like, yeah, that's what I was saying the whole time. So guys, that right brain, it's actually pretty smart. In fact, it's very smart. So I'm going to give you a little tip, we'll call it. I hate using the word tip, but that's a male phrase and men can relate to it. Whereas women are always looking for a purpose, because the left brain's always about getting to the point, like the point of a pen or a tip. Whereas the right brain is always looking for the greater purpose, the bigger picture. What does this mean? What's a deeper meaning of this? Because that gives you greater purpose and a greater, bigger picture. So men, do you want to... I'm not sure what the right word is. Forgive me. I'm just going to, because I want to get through this. Do you want to be able to attract women to you? Do you want a woman's brain to go click and all of a sudden look at you like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on here? Because most of the time, women literally kind of blur men out. It's like your voice is like that Charlie Brown cartoon where Charlie Brown's in the back of the classroom and the teacher's up front going wah 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 wah. That's what communicating to a woman is like in the male language. She essentially tunes you out. But watch this. Do you want her to tune into you and have her mating system kind of get clicked towards like, okay, wait. Do I have one right here? Hold on. The right brain is always looking for a deeper meaning. It can't help it. When a woman goes to the grocery store, picks up a bundle of bananas, she's going to look at it, see if there are any bad marks, are they fresh, are they green? And she'll say, looks healthy. What does that mean? Probably going to be nutrition. What does that mean? It's probably going to give me vital nutrition and energy. Well, what does that mean? Well, that means I'll have more energy to deal with the day. Well, what does that mean? Okay, now watch this. If you say to her this, ask her this, when she's talking to you, especially if you don't understand something, don't assume, because that's what the left brain does. Oh, to me, this definition is that. Well, other people have different definitions, different meanings to different words, phrases, and sentences. So if you simply say to her, well, when you say this, what does that mean to you? Guys, I'm going to tell you, it's like the heavens are going to open up. Her pupils will literally dilate. I'm not kidding. And she'll look at you, and she'll literally take a deep breath and go, wow, meaning, what does that mean? Oh, well, blah, 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 blah. And it's like they get excited, they get thrilled, and they really get into it, okay? Because number one, it's almost like a pre-trigger to her mating system. It's like wait. It's like she's got her finger on the trigger. Like, are we about to go here? What's going on here, man? So the point being is, here's the other side. Her right brain goes, well, wait a minute. I think I'm talking to a man who actually has a brain. You know, you're kind of like, what's the guy that in the Wizard of Oz that said, if I only had a brain, right? Well, all of a sudden you're saying, well, what does that mean? And her right brain goes, wait, meaning? Are you talking about meaning here? Because guys, I'm going to tell you right now, and ladies, I know you know this is true. It's all about meaning. And guess what? In real life, it actually is. So now, I'm going to give you a little bit more real quick. So ask her, what does that mean, or what's a greater purpose, or here's another one. Ask her, say, what is your purpose for sharing this with me? Now here's the thing, she will actually share it with you, which will add clarity to the communication. So you're always looking for, what does this word mean to you? Or what did this word mean back 2,000 years ago when the Bible was written? And that's what I'm leading up to. So yes, guys, I wrote a book called Cracked Female Code because women literally speak in a few hidden coded patterns and using a hidden language and on and on. So when you learn how to speak this code, all of a sudden you understand her, and now you can speak to her in a way that she can connect with mentally and emotionally and have a greater understanding of what you're saying. And it goes very much into romance, love, and, well, you have to read the book to find out. And no, ladies, I did not leave you out. We wrote a book for you called Why Men Just Don't Get It. And also the follow-up book, Every Woman's Battle, The Need for Love and Emotional Fulfillment. Alright, so let's get back to the word meaning and the meanings of words. And there's something that you have heard your whole life, probably since a child, if you went to church. Here's what it is, and this is a huge, I would say, fail on the pastors, because it's kind of, as I look back, like, There was one pastor that really went over this quite a bit, and it was towards the very end. But as I look back before that, like, how come none of these other pastors like really pointed this out? And here's what it was. You ever heard the phrase, the meek shall inherit the earth? It doesn't mean what you think it means. See the soldiers right here? That's the meek right there. Strong, powerful, warriors. They have swords and weapons on hand, ready to battle to the death. That is the meek. Let me explain. Alright, so early on, well, not early on, because I started going to church when I was about 4 years old, 3 years old. But when I was about 20 or 21 years old, I moved to Mountain View and I went to this Southern Baptist church that became non-denominational. And I really liked the church, liked the pastor. These were very spiritual people, very strong believers. And the pastor told me, he goes, Michael, if you really want to understand the Bible, you can't just read it. You have to actually understand, what do the words actually mean? I go, okay. So he goes, go buy the Hebrew Greek Key Study Bible, the King James Version, with the Strong's Dictionary and the Word Studies Concordance. I'm like, okay. So here's basically what that does. The Old Testament, not words like is, a, the, was, but words like house, love, like actual meaning words, okay? They will have a number next to them in each book, in each section, in each verse, okay? Because each word had a different meaning. So I remember the pastor kept going over and over and over that the word love had different meanings. There's agape, which means love of God. Then there's the form of love, which was, I can't remember the word for that, but the love of your wife. Then there's sexual love. There's the love of work. There's the love of your children. Obviously, the love of your children is different than the love of your work or the love of your wife. So there's different meanings depending on the expression of love and what you're speaking about. So that is the biggest challenge when it comes to understanding the Bible, because the Old Testament was written 2,000 years ago. So now, the Old Testament, okay, so in the back of this Bible, this King James Bible, the Concordance, etc., Strong's Dictionary, there's a dictionary in the back for the Old Testament, and there's a dictionary for the New Testament. Now, here's how it's done. It's done by numbers from 0 to whatever, 1,000, whatever. So it'll have, like, the book Adam, the word Adam. So it'll have like a number, let's say 25 next to it. And then you go to the Old Testament and you go to number 25, and then it explains you what does the word Adam mean in this exact text, in this exact sentence, back 2,000 years ago when it was written. So like I said, my brother Charlie and Shane came back to Wisconsin with these new slang words, and what happened was I had these brand new shoes that I had saved up. I had 4 paper routes and I worked really hard, and I saved up, I think it was about 3 months to buy these damn shoes, and I finally bought them, and they were like Converse, and they were literally the blue suede shoes, right? And they were tennis shoes though. And my brother goes, man, Michael, those shoes are bad. Now, this is the very first time I put them on. I'm like, what do you mean they're bad? And he goes, oh, no, they're bad, Michael, they're bad. And I'm like, oh. And I'm damn near crying because, man, I worked my ass off, and I really thought these shoes were cool. I really liked them. And so here my older brother was basically saying they look bad, they look like shit. And I'm on the verge of crying because I looked up to my brother and I was like thinking, like, why are you being such a dick, man? And then my other brother goes, no, Michael, the word bad means good. And I go, what? He goes, he's trying to say that those shoes are good. I go, so why doesn't he just say that? And he goes, oh, he just did. He said they're bad. And I walked away going, man, you guys are a bunch of idiots. So when it came to slang term, the word bad completely 180 degrees flipped to the opposite side, and now it means good. And, like, wait, what? Now imagine words that were written 2,000 years ago in a book, a Bible. They have completely, radically different meanings. Imagine talking to a woman if you're a man. Her right brain is a different processor. It literally gives different meanings to the same words. You're not hearing what she's saying, literally. So here's the trick of the narcissist, okay? I'm going to give you an example, just one of many. Actually, I'm going to give you 2. So the first one is, the meek shall inherit the earth. Most people have no idea what that word means. They think it means the weak. No. The meek means the strong and the silent. Just like me when I was an athlete. I was the baddest guy in school. I was benching 315 pounds in high school. I was a badass. I was knocking people around in football and wrestling. I was a badass. But I wasn't cocky. I wasn't arrogant. I wasn't boisterous. I wasn't all blah, 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 just like, barking at people. I was really quiet. In fact, one of the offensive linemen came up to me our senior year, and he sat next to me at lunch and said, "Hey, man, you're different." I go, "What do you mean I'm different?" He goes, "Well, you're like the baddest guy in school. Like, you would fight anyone at the drop of a hat." I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "But you seem so nice. You don't yell at people. You don't bark. You don't." I go, "Well, I don't need to." That is what the meek shall inherit the earth means. It means the strong and the quiet. It does not mean weak or kind or nice. The meek are good people. They're very good people. They have good values. They care, and they are kind and they are nice. But they have their armament up. They have their boundaries up. They're very aware. They're very alert, and they're paying attention. And they're listening. See, you were fed a bunch of lies on purpose, such as the meek shall inherit the earth. They just let you assume that meant the weak and the soft and that stuff. No. See, you were lied to your whole life. You were purposely disarmed by the narcissist, because the narcissists like easy targets. Of course they're going to tell you, "Oh, don't stand up for yourself." When Jesus says turn the other cheek, he means just let the children get raped and beaten and just walk away. No, hell no. I guarantee you, Jesus would jump into that and start whooping some ass. Jesus comes back as the roaring lion, not as the meek or weak sheep. And as followers, we are to be like Jesus. If you've ever gone to church, you know that. And if you notice what's happening in the world, people are starting to speak up. People are starting to stand up. There are literally vigilantes starting to pop up in all kinds of cities because they're sick and tired of their neighborhoods getting ransacked and cars broken into, etc. People are starting to stand, and they're going to stand together soon. So the narcissist's number one tool is twisting language and words. Why? To disarm you. To say, "Hey, take off your helmet, take off your shield, lower your arms, lower your weapons," because they want to be able to attack you mercilessly with no defense. They want to just run over you. Stand up. Start doing your push-ups. Start doing your sit-ups. Start going to jiu-jitsu class. Start going to Muay Thai class. Learn how to box. Learn how to wrestle. Do something. Do anything. So here's Jordan Peterson talking about the lie. So this is about the meek shall inherit the earth. He said, something just didn't make any sense to me. It didn't seem like a moral thing to be weak. So he came up with a definition. I don't know if he made it up, but I've never heard this, but it's very similar. It says, the meek shall inherit the earth means those who have swords and know how to use them, but keep them sheathed. In other words, they can rip you apart. These are master swordsmen. These are like the samurai. These are like the swordsmen from the kings and queen days. Okay, they know how to use them. They're very, very powerful. And then he says, will inherit the earth. Okay. Now Joe Rogan comes along and he uses an example that I've heard a long time ago. It's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. We were always supposed to be prepared, all of us, men and women and children, learning how to do the fighting arts, learning how to train ourselves, learning how to be tough, and at the same time, with goodwill. Because here's the deal. If you come up against someone who could rip your head off, someone who could, destroy you, someone who has a gun, you're not going to walk up to them and disrespect them. But you would to someone who's weak, you would to someone who's been disarmed, you would be rude and disrespectful to someone who doesn't know how to defend themselves. That's why all we have to do is go back about 25, 30 years to around the 60s and 70s. There was a lot more respect back then, because if you didn't respect someone, well, you'd get your teeth knocked out. And that was the way it was. And a lot of times the police is like, well, what happened? Like, oh, so you decided to be a smartass? Well, it looks like you got what you deserved. I'm telling you, if you go back far enough, the police didn't take these little matters and go, oh my God, we got to arrest everyone. It's like, no, like, well, why did you do that? Well, because you're being a dick. Well, you learned your lesson. Here's another one. Spare the rod and spoil the child. Everyone assumes like, oh, it means we should spare the rod, in other words, not spank our children, and spoil them. No, that's not what it was saying. It means the opposite. The God is saying, if you spare the rod, you're going to spoil the child, and you're going to have a messed up kid who's going to go around being a little dickhead. That was another meaning that the narcissist twisted around. Here's one more. For years, over a decade, I was in church and I kept hearing this, and yet that's not what the Bible actually said. So a lot of you have heard the phrase, money is the root of all evil. Well, I was going through a phase in my, probably from 19 or 20 years old. I read a book on speed reading, so I was going through the Bible from beginning to end. And then I just decided that was going to be part of my life, is just to read it from beginning to end, and then go to church and break things down linguistically, etc., right? And so one day I read it and said, wait, it says the love of money is the root of all evil. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And then I went to my pastor and said, hey, what the hell? Because my whole life I felt guilty, like, oh, if you want money, you're bad. And he goes, no, there's nothing. He goes, Michael, God commands that his children become very wealthy. And in fact, God literally will say in the Old Testament to live, to prosper, to live abundantly, and to be wealthy. And I said to my pastor, I go, as far as I'm concerned, that's not a request from God. God's literally telling you, go out there and prosper and be wealthy and successful. And Pastor X goes, yes, that's literally what he's saying. But most Christians believe that making money and being rich is evil and it's satanic. Because then there's the other one, which I made a YouTube video about, where it says you cannot have two masters. You either follow God or Mammon, because Mammon is like an entity, an evil being that you can pray to for money. And the thing about it is, like, no one ever points this out. And again, it's another narcissistic twist. Is most people will read that passage and saying you cannot serve two masters, God or wealth, not realizing the definition of what that's saying. It was really a horrible translation that was brought over into some of the Bibles. So you look up that word. What did this word mean back then? It's like, oh, Mammon. Well, what's Mammon? Mammon's this evil entity that you can pray to for money. Like, I've never even heard of this damn beast, and I don't pray to it. So it's like, but most Christians to this day, even though you're hearing me what I'm saying, you still feel guilty about making money. A lot of them do. So what's the intention of this video? You really need to start asking people, well, what is your purpose for sharing this with me? Or what does that mean to you? So when you say this, what does this mean to you? And guys, if you say this to women, they'll light up. They'll be like, oh my God, because they feel like they're being listened to for the first time in their life. Because now you're actually listening for and looking for meaning. Now there's one more thing I want to add there that I didn't quite get in the past video. Respect is earned. In other words, people don't respect weak people. They just don't. They don't respect people that don't speak up for themselves. People just do not. I'm telling you, especially when you're dealing with the non-humans and the demons and the people that have entities in them, they're not going to respect you just because you're nice. And that is the biggest mistake of people that are nice, empathic, light workers, or whatever you call yourself, okay? Just open-hearted people. You think, well, I'll be nice to them and they'll respect me. No, they will not. Pastor Rex used to say to me, Michael, you've got to earn their respect. And I remember going, why? Like, why do I? It's like, it was like a job, because, he goes, it is a job. If you don't stand firm, speak up for yourself, and get in their face sometimes and tell them to back off, etc., they're going to walk all over you. And you know what? He was right. See, this lion is like people that are respectful. They don't lie to themselves about the truth of other people and the truth of the world. The world is not a nice, kind place. That's just a fact. So I'm going to show you an image of respect. This is an image of respect. Standing tall, standing firm, eyes alert, paying attention, listening to what's going on around you, and tuning in and being strong and being firm. People will respect this. Oh, trust me, they'll respect this. My point being, you've got to start being strong. To have self-respect means you have self-respect, meaning look at the image again. You're strong. I've got self-respect. You're literally advertising it to the world like, yeah, I don't put up with your shit. Alright guys, God bless you all. Hope you got something out of this video. And remember, go to Mike Colleen at MikeColleen.com. Click subscribe, click that like button. And if you want to support this channel, there's a donation button right down there below in the description box. You can also go to my website at MikeColleen.com and buy one of my dating relationship books. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next video. God bless you.